we got moved into this other foster home that was a part of a foster family agency, and they told us we couldn't have our picture anywhere because we were telling the social worker we want to do commercials, we want to do modeling, and they told us that we not only couldn't get into commercials or modeling, we couldn't have our picture taken. Like, we couldn't be in the school yearbook, we couldn't take school photos, and we're like, why? And they said, because we now belong to the state, we were an entity of the state, we weren't allowed to have our picture advertised. We weren't allowed to advertise ourselves, not even in the yearbook. And they said because doing so could allow a way for our parents to find us or for other people to find us. We never knew what they meant by other people, but they didn't want anyone to find us. And so we didn't think that was fair. We're like, just because we're foster kids, it doesn't mean we should not be able to have the same things and do the same things as other normal kids. Like, we're doing everything normal. Like,
yeah,
our circumstances shouldn't decide what we get to do. And so
yeah, Leah actually wouldn't let me film or take pictures with some of the kids that I spoke with.
Mm-hmm.
So
because we weren't allowed to be, we're not
yeah,
allowed
but
to be
she didn't
published.
exactly explain why. That's interesting.
Most likely that's one of the
just
reasons.
for safety.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, okay, when you're in the foster care system, generally every 6 months you have to go to this thing at court called a review hearing. And a review hearing is basically where the judge and the children's attorney and your social worker decide what's going to happen with you for the next 6 months, like where the children are going to be placed, what's going to happen with their parents, and basically figure out a 6-month plan. And so we went to this type of review hearing every 6 months. We're used to it. But when we were placed in the foster family agency, I remember my twin sister and I were like, wait, we have our own attorney because it's a children's attorney, the review hearing. And we're like, and we're going to court and there's going to be a judge there. Let's make our own case. And so we completely wrote out this entire thing that we wanted to talk to the judge about. We wanted specifically to go into court, not to talk about the next 6 months of our family circumstances or what's going to happen with us, but we wanted to make something happen for us. We wanted to get in front of the judge and argue why we should be allowed to model and be in commercials. So we basically wrote out this whole entire not deposition, like litigation, I think that's what you call it. And so
but can you do that? Like, well, you need your lawyer to go along with it, right?
Stay tuned and you'll find out. So when we went to the court the next day, our children's attorney came and sat with us and talked to us, said, here's what's going to happen. You can either go in the children's room and play games and color, or you can come and just sit in the adult room with us in the courtroom. And we're like, oh, we want to go in the court. And he's like, oh, you do? And we're like, yeah, we want to talk to the judge. He's like, no one's allowed to talk to the judge. And we're like, we just want to ask a few questions. And he's like, okay, what do you want to ask? And we're like, we just want to talk to the judge. And he's like, okay, I'll see if they'll allow it. And so we went inside of when they called our case, we came in and the judge was just mumbling this whatever. I don't know. This jargon. We didn't understand it. But we just raised our hands and the judge was like, no. What? She's like, do you have a question? And we're like, yeah. And she's like, okay. And so we just stood up and we're like, we don't think it's fair that just because we're foster kids, we can't have our picture anywhere. And she's like, what do you mean? And we're like, well, we got told we can't have our picture in the school yearbook and we can't have our picture at school. We can't have our picture taken. We can't even go to our friend's house without their entire family being life scanned and fingerprinted and background checked.
Wow, crazy.
Oh yeah, it's very, very restrictive. And so we're like, we really want to do modeling and we want to be in commercials, but we can't because we're foster kids and we don't like that. We're still doing everything other normal kids do. We still go to school. We're still doing good. And why can't we do commercials? And she's like, oh. And she's like, no one's ever actually stood up for that before. And we're like, well, can we? And she's like, I'll tell you what. She's like, if you two can keep your GPA above a 3.5, then I will allow you as foster kids to get into modeling and do commercials. And not only that, because her son was an actual modeling agent. She's like, I will even give you an agent to work with. And we're like, our GPAs are 3.6. She's like, okay, then, well, you can do it. And we had no idea this is how it worked or that this would work, but it worked. She provided us an agent to work with. Not only that, the court paid for us to go to modeling classes.
No way.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
I have no idea, but I'm extremely grateful for it because I don't know. And I mean, it was her promise. And
Was it just something that the judge could decide as part
I think
of a
so.
program or something?
Yeah, either that or else the judge probably personally paid for it. But for whatever reason, the court wrote us a check for the amount of the modeling classes and they covered it for us.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I've never met a judge that was like that. And that judge retired a while back, but I still remember her name and what she was like. And not only that, like the next time we came to court, we argued a case that we wanted our very own laptops for so that we can do better in school. And which is funny because we were like 15 years old and like 15 years old, like no one even had laptops unless you were either an adult or else you worked for some major corporation. Like laptops are kind of like non-existent, but we argued in court. We made another little another little statement saying why we should have laptops.
To the same judge?
The same exact judge, yeah. And she ended up getting us laptops. And our
Hmm.
foster parents were upset. They're like, you can't use that unless you're going to school. And because, but the school wouldn't let us take them with us. They
Yeah.
had to hold on to them. And so, our social worker had to tell our foster parents it was okay for you to use it at their home, but they were just jealous. But it was just funny because we just came home. We're like, she got us a
Mm.
laptop. And
Hey, you never know unless you ask or
yeah,
unless you try, right?
yeah, exactly. And that's sort of part of my message. Like, no one ever thinks they can just get up and do these things. Like, take some initiative. Like, just taking the initiative, like just saying, hey, it's a judge, we have an attorney, let's do a court case. Like, that got us, that started my entire modeling career.
I had no idea, but like I never heard this part of the story, but
Oh, I thought I told you.
no.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, like the worst that could have happened is
You could have said no.
yeah, and you'd be back where you started.
Mhm.
Big deal.
Yep. And if that would have happened, I would have found another way.
Yeah.
Because I'm feisty like that. Like,
Yeah.
if something doesn't work, I will find another way until it does.